What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday to everyone. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers who watch my channel. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long COVID issues. It is time now for the Sunday edition of the Pandemic Update for Sunday, Father's Day, June 16th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily pandemic update on all things COVID and any other virus that could be a health threat to you. Let's face it, there are a lot of viruses out there. Each and every day, we either find out something new about these viruses, or they change, or something occurs with one of them. COVID pandemic started back in 2020. Here we are in 2024. It's still going on. It's still wreaking havoc. It's still causing long COVID, deaths, illness, hospitalizations, you name it, it's still happening. And there's other viruses out there that at any given time could potentially go pandemic status. You need to know what's going on with these viruses. And you don't get much of that from the news. Here I am right here. I give you 15 to 20 minutes each and every day. So if you're new, subscribe down below, give this a thumbs up, hit that notification bell, leave a comment down below, and share this with anyone you know. Alright, starting off today, we have to start off in the Pacific Northwest. In Seattle, Washington, health officials warn of a possible measles exposure at a Seattle urgent care. Yes, this is happening in Kings County, in West Seattle, at an urgent care clinic, and it looks like the exposure was back around June 10th from somewhere in between 3:30 and 8 p.m. and this was at the Franciscan Urgent Care in West Seattle. So if you're familiar with this area, maybe you live in this area, maybe you had to use urgent care that day, please be aware there was a measles exposure. You can read the full story because I did tweet it out, so just go read that full story there for all of the detail. Now moving on to this, COVID over in Italy. Well, as of right now, 44% of the infections in Italy right now are reinfections. In other words, someone who has gotten COVID more than once, a second time, maybe a third time, God forbid, maybe a fourth time. It has happened. Moving on now to this. I asked a simple question on X. We're going to share this today, and then we're going to share the final results again tomorrow. Simple question. Do you think H5N1 will reach pandemic status? So far, this is getting a big response. 400 votes. 86.3% say yes, 13.8% say no. And I said yesterday, right now, my personal opinion is we're at a moderate concern for this because we are seeing dairy farm outbreaks continuously happening here in the United States. The number continues to go up. We're starting to fill in more states on the map, and it's not just happening in the United States, it's happening all around the world. We're not really all that prepared for this. There's not a lot of testing available for H5N1 at this time. We're kind of reliving some of the same mistakes we made back in 2020, and I don't have the article up, but the former CDC director from back during Trump administration, Robert Redfield, yes, he is even saying or predicting that bird flu could become a pandemic. So it is getting rather concerning. I will share with you the final results and the final number of votes on this tomorrow. There's still 22 hours to vote, and we're already at 400 votes on this. Wow. All right, taking a look at this. We've been talking about Hawaii, how their emergency department visits are going way up, and their wastewater. We're going to look at their wastewater today. But one thing that has not had a big rise yet, though it is going up ever so slightly, is the deaths in Hawaii. They are still relatively low compared to other years. But you can see here, they've had an ever so slight increase. Deaths are not everything with COVID, though. We know all it takes is one case of COVID to cause you to go on and get long COVID. Long COVID is still very much so a thing. We're seeing a lot of people reporting now that they're dealing with long COVID since the winter wave passed. We know it was the second biggest wave in the whole entire pandemic in the United States. Not everywhere, though. You can see here, death wave in the wintertime was not terribly big in Hawaii. Moving on to this now. Got to remind you, you still need to wear a N95 better N95 or better mask when you go into places. Why? Well, read what Bart says. COVID is not over. Wear an N95 or better mask. And in this case, Bart Simpson's writing this on the chalkboard because he didn't wear his N95 mask to school. Detention for Bart. No, not really, but I would like to think that he's in detention because of that. It is summertime now, so school's letting out. And ooh, it's a Sunday. He had to write that on a Sunday. Really, he wrote that on Saturday night. But anyhow, moving on, just a reminder, the UK this past week, cases did rise. 1,862. That was up by 225. And the update compared to the previous update was down for hospitalizations. But as you saw, and I will show this to you again for those who are new here, as you saw, hospitalizations in the UK, or at least admissions, you can see here, if we look a little bit closer, we can see in the recent days leading up to that update, they actually did look like they may be starting to go back up again, which would make sense if cases are going back up again. You see they were dropping, and now they're slightly going up again. They don't update hospitalizations very frequently. You can see here, when they do a backlog of all the data, but we may not see another update on this for several weeks. Hopefully we do get one this week. Moving on now, taking a look at pollen levels, and drum roll please as I refresh this. Today's pollen levels, 56% of the country is in the medium status, but a lot of that is in the yellow category. There's just a little bit of orange in the Northeast today, some orange in the Four Corners region, and some orange still. Northern California, Oregon, and southern Washington. Oregon has had a very bad pollen season this year. Taking a look at air qualities across the United States, this is going to be one of the better days for air quality. Air quality is going to significantly get worse going forward. What you see here in the middle section of the country, that is going to spread to the east and spread into the northeast. Get ready for it. It's going to be a bad day for anyone with asthma and COPD, not just today down here, but once that spreads into the northeast, you're looking at it for a solid week because there is extreme heat coming to the northeast. I also should tell you that in California, I was told that there is some sort of a wildfire going on, and that's one of the reasons why you're starting to see bad air quality there once again. So that is not good to see. All right, moving on. Heat-related illness map. This map is going to fill in throughout the next couple of weeks as this heat comes into play. We may see it go up a little bit this week, but it's not really going to account for the extreme heat that will be ongoing throughout this week. I expect not this week, but the following week, we are really going to see this fill in anywhere east of the Mississippi with much higher than normal heat-related illness calls. And you can see it was already starting to happen, so we'll probably see this fill in even more. Even in the southwest U.S., you're starting to see this fill in. Ambulances, they're getting very busy right now. Taking a look at this, I have another place where you can track the weather, or where I talk about the weather, and that is on my X at Climate Data Report, and you can also follow me on my other YouTube channel. And I am really confident that today we'll get that number over 400 subscribers. We did post today's weather video just about an hour ago. You can go check that out. I talk about not only the heat, but yeah, there's some flooding threats as well. It has not been a good year for flooding. Last weekend was Florida that we talked about. Today it's the Gulf Coast and upper Midwest. All right, moving on. EMS incidents in Philadelphia. There were 786 EMS incidents on Saturday. We're going to revisit something that we looked at yesterday because it is still an issue again today. Let's refresh this and see if there are any updates. Yep, take a look at this. A large number of operator unavailability issues for, who knows, I don't think they have enough operators, and a lot of them retired at the start of the pandemic. And hey, long COVID, people still getting sick. It is a thing. And plus, it's also a dangerous job, but it's something that has not improved since the start of the pandemic. So while everyone thinks things are back to normal, transportation, mass transit here in southeast Pennsylvania, it's still a big issue. And I'm sure if you went up to New York or went down to D.C. or anywhere else with a major city that has mass transit, I'm sure they're equally dealing with their own set of problems. Taking a look now at what is going on with the EMS calls in southeast Pennsylvania. Montgomery County, we're seeing dizziness, nauseous, we're seeing strokes, not one but two strokes, cardiac emergency, at least we're not seeing cardiac arrest today, and no respiratory emergencies at this time. Taking a look at what's going on in Chester County, Pennsylvania. Quiet for a Sunday. This is actually quiet for any day of the week. Remember, we've been seeing a lot of calls lately. Don't worry. Well, I shouldn't say don't worry, but unfortunately is the better way of putting it. Unfortunately, these two CADs are going to be very busy this upcoming week because of the heat that's coming. It's going to cause a lot of respiratory difficulty problems. All right, taking a look at wastewater now, at least in Pennsylvania first. And we can see in Pennsylvania, we do see some orange sites. State College, Pennsylvania, though the students are gone for the summer. There are some students still at Penn State University for summer classes. It's seeing an increase now for COVID. Mind you, this is strictly COVID. Also seeing an increase back in Indiana County, and there is a large increase being reported in Abington, Montgomery County. That is not good. That's a densely populated area, by the way, so not good to be seeing that. Taking a look at Walgreens this week, the national positivity rate of COVID tests being conducted at Walgreens this week, with, again, a lot of states not reporting any tests from Walgreens. The national positivity rate went up 27.1%. That's up by 4.2%. The prior week was 22.9%. Yes, it's not a good thing whatsoever to see this going up. I mean, testing went up slightly, and we'll get an update on this again tomorrow. Before we get to a full look at wastewater, I do want to show you this. Emergency department visits with people diagnosed with COVID. These are people showing up to the emergency room with COVID. You can see here, it's been rising once again in the United States. I mean, we're headed into a slow trend towards another wave. I don't think we'll fully head into a wave until the second half of summer, but nonetheless right now, it is an increase from the extremely low levels that we saw back in spring, and I do want to show, for people who have not seen this does need to be shown. Look at Hawaii. Hawaii is just seeing a humongous increase in the number of people showing up at the emergency room, and they have not had a major wave of COVID in a while. They had one back in December. They had one last summer, but they haven't had a really big wave, at least not this size, in quite some time. I'm reading reports saying that it's the biggest wave in 2 years, so COVID, it is just, the KP.3 variant is just really going to town in Hawaii at this time. Let's take a look at a couple other states in the United States. What's going on in Maine? Well, you saw Hawaii, but over in Maine, it's not rising yet. It's actually dropping a little bit. That's good. And Maine doesn't usually rise until the second half of summer. How about what is going on out in New Mexico at this time? New Mexico was seeing a rise, and now it is dropping ever so slightly. Alrighty, moving on now. It is Sunday. Around here, we like to dedicate a good portion of the Sunday pandemic update to COVID in wastewater. Taking a look at this map, you see a lot of different colors, including one that is not coded on the right. That's these gray sites. Anywhere in gray means it's not updating. We don't like that when wastewater sites don't update. That means we don't know what's going on in those areas. But what you do see here is a big return, and that is New York City. New York City is finally back on the map after disappearing for, golly, I think it's been since last year. So let's take a look at the colors. New sites, there's 50 of them, and sometimes it's not always new. Sometimes it's a site that just hasn't updated in a while. You may recall, if you've been watching this channel for a long time, there was a period where Ohio, almost all the wastewater sites went new, and that wasn't the case. It's just they didn't update in a while. So there's 50 sites in that category. 0 to 19%. That's the dark blue. That is our favorite color on this map. Why? That means it is very low levels of COVID. And when you have very low levels of COVID, that's a good thing. That means there's not a lot of people sick with COVID. 413 sites, but unfortunately, that number is getting smaller as there are some places that are starting to see increases. And another reason is because of all these sites that are not updating. Maybe some of them that were in very low levels just did not update. All right, slightly lighter shade of blue, 20 to 39% COVID detected. At this point, we do see that there is 458, but again, that number dropped Now we're coming into moderate levels, really light shades of blue, 40 to 59% COVID detected, and we can see here 225 sites in that category. It's down by 11%. And then in the orange, 60 to 79% COVID detected, 91 sites there. And now we're at the really high levels, the highest possible level. Red, 80 to 100% COVID detected. Yes, there are now 27 sites in that category. We're seeing them in Florida, of course, Hawaii. There is one in Alaska. There's one out in California. There's a couple in New York City, and you can see here that things in those areas are not going all that well, but we still do see a lot of blue on the map. Like if we zoom in to the northeast, you can see here a lot of sites are still in the blue. That is a good thing. Down in the southeast, we are starting to see more of those red sites in Florida. Orange County, Florida is rising at this time, and then as we get over to Pinellas County, we can see here, there, wow, you are seeing a rapid rise, and that's 103,000 population. I'm also seeing Lee County is red as well. And then coming over to Hawaii, we're just going to click on these sites. Honolulu has been continuously going up, as has been the rest of the wastewater sites. Wow, look at this one, 400,000 population. Honolulu at this particular wastewater site, and it is rapidly going upward. That is just not good whatsoever. And you saw emergency department visits. Maui is rapidly going up. So Hawaii, things are really going bad at this time. And in Hawaii County, Hawaii, good news for you is you're actually dropping at this time. Now let's take a look at things in another way. You can actually take a look at a map from the CDC where they average all the wastewater sites up for a state and come up with a level. So like for example, 18 sites currently reporting in Florida. Well, you average them all together, comes up with very high COVID levels. And you saw some of those charts. They're going upward. Would be expected in the summertime. Hawaii, very high with 8 sites reporting. California is coming up with high levels. Moderate up in Washington, minimal in Oregon, but we do have some areas that are doing really well still. 7 sites reporting in Kentucky, you're still minimal. Tennessee, minimal. Pennsylvania is still minimal at this time, though I think that's going to change pretty soon. Pennsylvania will probably at least go to low, maybe moderate at some point. You saw there's some wastewater sites starting to rise. Montana at this time, 6 wastewater sites reporting. You're at very high levels. New York State at this time is in the minimal category. Now we can quickly go over to wastewater scan. We can take a look at other viruses. And rather than going individual wastewater sites, because this is already, I can tell you right now, if we did that, we'd be going over our 20-minute time frame. Let's take a look at the nationwide and then regional look at this, and we can see here that wastewater levels, they are still rising in the United States. Most recent update shows that, yes, there is a little straight upward. Again, it's going to correct itself, and it does look like there may be some sort of a peaking going on now, so we'll have to see. I don't want to get too overly optimistic. I don't want to minimize anything, but it does look like maybe things are going to start to level off a little bit after we have been seeing a rise since back around the beginning of May in the United States for COVID. RSV, Influenza A, Influenza B, all low at this time. Influenza A, we'll have to keep an eye on that. That has flattened out a little bit. May start rising once again. HMPV is dropping. Norovirus is still medium across the country. And now taking a look at the regional views. In the Midwest, we can see here that COVID, it's been rising ever so slightly. RSV is low, Influenza A is low, Influenza B is low. Still high for HMPV in this area. And norovirus is dropping at this time. Taking a look in the Northeast, and in the Northeast, we do note here that there has been an increase for COVID this week, and it's been more than one update, so that's something we have to keep an eye on. RSV at this time is low. Influenza A is rising ever so slightly. Influenza B is low, and HMPV is dropping. Norovirus is still in the medium category. In the South at this time, we do see that, wow, COVID, it is really going upward here. It was leveling off, but the most recent update does show it going straight up. I think that's going to correct once again. It probably is going upward, but I think that's going to correct to not as harsh of a rise. Taking a look here with RSV, that's low at this time. Influenza A, a little bit of an uptick here. And taking a look at Influenza B, low. HMPV is low, and norovirus, it is at high levels, but dropping at this time. In the West, finally, we can see here that COVID, it is continuing to go up here. There may be some sort of a peak starting pretty soon. Most recent update does show it up again, but it may be finally starting to peak there. We can hope that is the case. RSV is leveling off at this time. Influenza A is low. Influenza B is low. HMPV is low. And norovirus is medium at this time. We will take a look at some more individual wastewater sites throughout the week with our pandemic updates. We're just simply running out of time today, and if we looked at every wastewater site, we would be here for hours. Alrighty, folks, that does it for the Sunday edition of the Pandemic Update. We will have another Pandemic Update again tomorrow. Hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe down below if you are new, especially if you want to be informed daily. Hit that notification bell. You'll know when I do my daily updates. Share these videos with anyone you know and leave your comments down below. I will see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic Sunday afternoon. Thanks for watching.